Okay. All right. Now the meeting's being recorded, so everyone has been warned that comments are being archived. We're going to go through the basics of refereeing quickly, mechanics and responsibilities. This is more to show, based on each individual position on the field, where you should be and what your areas of responsibility are. Go through a bunch of the common penalties at a high level. This is not meant to be a go through the rule book. That's been provided, or if you don't have it, please let me know and we can email it to you and you can study that all in more detail. It's just more common penalties that are called and assistance in executing them. And then I do want to go through, because I thought Sam was going to do it. Anyone who's been to a tournament in the past 2 months is familiar that onside kicks have now become a thing that is being beta tested. And we are going to try and do that this spring season in our league. I'm not going to try and get everything explained to everyone here, but I just want to go through the basics of it. If it does happen, your head referee will have all the specifics down of how to execute this. That's just kind of our overview of what we're going through. Referee basics. Your professionalism, we're obviously out there to do a job. We all, I think almost everyone here looking around has or is a player still and understands you want referees that are calm. You're there to administer the game in a professional manner. Do not take it personally. I know we are human beings and it is really difficult at times. I am certainly as guilty as anyone of having a temper that can get out of control, but it's to our benefit and for everyone's benefit that we try and maintain the order of the game when necessary, and understand that this is football. It's going to be a heated competition. Just try not to take it personally. And also a good thing of professionalism, don't discuss players or the play of one team to another team. It's just a really bad look. If someone's on the sidelines talking to you about their own teammate and you want to kibitz about it, cool. Don't do it with the other team because that's just going to lead down a road that we don't want to do. Flow of the game, it's always better when the game moves at a consistent flow. So, but don't hurry. You don't have to, run around out of control, move at a steady pace, but don't lollygag about it. Understand in the last 2 minutes of the half, depending on the situation in the game, things may be moving very quickly, but try and just keep your composure how things are going. With that, also just in the last 2 minutes of the half, because they are a little bit different than the rest of the game, the official with the game clock, and I specifically use that word because our rules say it should be the down judge, national rules say it should be the back judge, and we have all ref games where it is the head referee. So regardless, whoever is the official with the game clock, you need to announce the time remaining and whether the clock is running or stopped at the end of every play. Excuse me one sec. Sam's texting me. If you're the head referee, repeat the current time and status, whether the clock is stopped, whether it'll start in the snap or on the whistle. Make sure, all of us, that we are giving the timeout signal for out of bounds plays, penalties, timeouts, first downs. I think everyone should know that, but it's waving the hands over the air. Or the start the clock signal for a ball that becomes dead inbounds near the sidelines. It's a winding of the arm in a circle twice. You don't necessarily have to do that if the ball comes dead in the middle of the field. I think we all know where that is, but it doesn't necessarily hurt. Just a couple of helpful hints. Work together as a team. We're all there to, help each other through the game. Doesn't mean we're all friends with each other, but we are all here to do a job. Enter and leave the field as a crew rather than a team. Just helps for perception and game operation. All officials also, you should, and all of us, I'm just as guilty as anyone. We don't do this every play, but it's best habit to try and remember to do it. Indicate the downs with your fingers, whether it's 1, 2, 3. There's different ways to do 3, or fist for 4. Record all your scores and timeouts, and be courteous, fair, and firm. And I've used those words in that particular order for a reason when dealing with players and non-players. We should approach everything with a courteous nature. Players that are respectful for us deserve that back. Be fair, because that's exactly why we're there, but be firm. We are there to maintain order when going through things. Those are the basics that I wanted to go at a high level. And as Sam is now here with us, I know he had a few things he wanted to go through. So before I do mechanics and then penalties, I'll let Sam have the floor.
Thank you, Reagan. I'll let you continue and just sort of and watch from afar right now.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. So moving on to mechanics and responsibilities. There's some graphics that are going to show the positioning, depending on how many people in your crew, and then the responsibilities of each official, both before, during, and then after the play. The majority of our games are three-person crews. There are three officials there: the head referee, which you'll often hear us refer to as the white hat, the down judge, sometimes people will call it the line judge. Those are different in a four-person crew, which we'll get to. That's the one on the line of scrimmage. And then the back judge, who is basically the one that's taking care of things deep down in the field. In a three-person crew, the referee is going to be positioned diagonally behind the quarterback. The down judge is on the line of scrimmage on the opposite side of the referee. Typically, the down judge is on the side of the field that if we had a down box, would be on, where the teams are. And then the back judge is positioned on the other sideline. In a three-person crew, the down judge and back judge are each responsible for a sideline. So it's important that they be on opposite sides of the field. And you'll see here again in general areas of responsibility, and we'll go through this in a bit more detail. The referee is really responsible for the line of scrimmage and everything that goes on behind it. They are watching for the rusher to leave early with some assistance from the down judge. But by and large, the referee's focus is the quarterback, the blockers, and the rushers, and everything that's going on in that realm. The down judge starts initially looking at the line of scrimmage and taking care of the 5 yards extended neutral zone. And then they're drifting downfield, looking in sort of for plays in the middle of the zone. The back judge, they're starting behind the furthest defender, and they're drifting as far back as the play requires them to go. In a goal line play, you'll often hear the referees maybe hear us talk about rotating or dropping down. We go into a different sort of position for goal line, where the referee shifts over to the line of scrimmage, the down judge shifts to the goal line, and then the back judge shifts to the back of the end zone. Initially, this is when you're within 5 yards. It is a judgment call of your head referee. Usually when we get within 10 yards, we'll rotate. The head referee will let the referee crew know whether to rotate or drop down. We don't have a lot of punts in our league due to our smaller field size. But if we do have a punt play, the correct way to line up is the referee stays right where they are. Instead, it's the punter rather than the quarterback. Down judge is watching the line of scrimmage to make sure that everyone in the offense remains set until the ball is kicked, and no one from the defense unnecessarily crosses, but then should immediately bail downfield to help with the spot. And the back judge is lined up as far back as the three receivers are that are deep, so they can have the best eyes on where the punt is going to be spotted at the end of the play. In the event that we have to do a two-person crew, and especially for those of you that are new, we're going to try to avoid this, but we've all had those weeks where we are short on referees. It sometimes is an unavoidable fact. The rotation segment here is the back judge largely stays where they are. The referee moves out of the backfield into the line of scrimmage. You can see in this that there is a lot more field that has to be covered by just two people. The referee's looking at the quarterback, still primarily the rusher and blocker, and still trying to see for line of scrimmage infractions. The back judge is looking downfield, but it's also probably trying to look a little bit more for stuff that's going on in that 5 to 10 yard zone. All of you know, when there's only two referees, we can't see everything. Do the best you can. Players generally do understand this, but remind them there's only two of us there. Also, just a tip, it's not in the slides. When you're in a two-person crew, it really helps, especially if you're the head ref, to remind the teams to help you with the shifting of the pucks and beanbags, because that'll help the game move along. In a four-person crew, which I apparently didn't change the graphic out for this, so excuse me for that. Before I send this to you, I'll update. In a four-person crew, there's a line judge and a down judge. The difference here is the line judge is positioned generally at the line to gain. The down judge is still where they are. The referee is where they are. And the back judge is playing center field. I'm going to just shift to the next page because it shows better what I mean. And the back judge is in the field of play, generally opposite, a little bit diagonally shading whatever side of the field the referee's on. So in this instance, if the down judge is on this sideline, the referee should be angled over here. The line judge is on this side, and then the back judge will angle a little bit over here. You basically make a four-person box. And this just allows us to have more coverage of the field, particularly in the middle of the field in this general area. It's why we try, especially in playoffs, to have four-person crews if we can help it. And in a goal line situation with a four-person crew, no one really has to rotate. The down judge is line of scrimmage, line judge is goal line, and the back judge and the referee are in the same positions that they would be in otherwise. And just a slight thing for a punt play, because we have four referees, in this instance, the line judge can drop back with the receivers on with the back judge so that you have better eyes to get the spot on where the return is going to be. Any quick questions?
Reagan, I'll just interrupt you for 1 second and say for the newer referees, all of this sounds so convoluted and so complicated, but you've seen us on the field, referees. We are such a team. Like, we back each other up. And someone like Brian, who may be doing this for the first time, you don't know how much we have your back when you're going to be out there. Like, all of this sounds convoluted, but we continually talk to each other and just remind each other, no, you're going to go down to the goal line. This is such easy breezy stuff. It may look convoluted here in all these graphics, but when you're with Reagan's a head ref, we are so continually talking to each other and making sure each other is comfortable that all of you are doing this out of the goodness of your heart. We are none of us are doing this for a fiscal gain. It's just because we love the league and we love our friends and we love working with each other. So I'm really grateful that not only are you on the call, but someone like Brian, who may, with all due respect, maybe in the twilight of your career, you're finding a way to hang on and to give back. And that's
I don't think you've seen me lately, Sam.
Oh, you mean your new studly body?
I have a quick question, and maybe we went through it already, Reagan. If we did, I apologize. But I think I want to better understand how much the refs are moving versus staying stationary.
Reagan, I'll take this if you don't mind.
That's fine. I'd say answer that question. When we didn't go through it, it was more in bullet points, but I'll let Sam answer it for sure.
It's sort of interesting. We're the opposite of players. For the most part, we're somewhat stationary when the players are moving, and after the play, we're moving. So there's a continual motion on the field. It's either players or us. When the players are done, we're moving, and when the players are moving, we're somewhat stationary. But I don't know if that, if that answered your question.
I think to answer my thought on that, I agree with Sam, is you want to move as little as you have to, but you don't want to be out of position. The head referee is largely stationary unless the QB and rusher starts drifting into their space. The down judge is on the line, starts in the line, and starts drifting back a couple of yards, probably towards that rusher pop. But you're really just taking steps there. You're not going for a jog because you just want to be watching everything that's developing there. The back judge starts not moving. Really, they only start taking off if someone starts going for like a 30-yard bomb and they got to make sure that they're downfield in position. But if you're a back judge and the safety starting, say, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, you can just stay there and watch everything in front of you unless someone starts moving behind you. That's really when you've got to start taking off in that regard.
I guess I'm imagining a deep ball, and
right,
that the closer I get to it, the better I'll be able to see any
For
shenanigans, any shoves, versus if I'm far away, I may not be able to actually see something that's happening.
I mean, those are mechanics, And what happens is when you're a back judge, think of cropping a picture. You are one step to the sideline of the receiver, and then you're about 3 steps behind the last defender. So everything's in that box. So nothing's on that side and nothing's on this side. And on a deep ball, very rarely are we behind a play, but occasionally we are. And what happens is you're running down the field at the point of a catch or at the point of an attempted catch, you stop. The last thing you want to do is try to make a decision when you're running like a freak. So you'll see that referees will actually stop at that point and start to gaze at the play and check out the play. That you'll notice even in the NFL, referees aren't running and making a decision. They're stopping. Even if the play's behind them at that point, you're going to stop at the impact of a play and focus. So, there is running, but all those little nuances you'll learn probably game 3, game 4, game 5.
I think the only other thing I was going to add, Sam hit one of my 2 points, is the stop and make sure you focus so that you can be entirely looking at what you need to watch for. The other is the same judgment I think that you make when you're playing as a defender on the field. You know how fast you can move. If you're not one that can really sprint downfield in a hurry, and especially you've already seen some deep ball plays, maybe start a couple yards further back. That way that you can keep the play more in front of you. I know I usually can hustle if I need to go with it, but that's not true of everybody. And you can judge yourself how much you can actually move.
Thanks, guys.
Sure. So before the play by position, again, I think, there's a lot of newer refs here, but I see obviously Sam, Gio's on the call, myself. If you're the head referee before the play, ensure the beanbags and rusher puck have been set in the correct position. Usually the head ref will take care of it if it's a play about 3 yards or less. And especially if it's within those last 2 minutes on short distance plays, they will take care of it because they are by far the closest to do so. You want to wait until the offense gets everybody within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage before you blow the ready for play whistle so you can start the play clock. You reserve the right if the offense is taking a long time to get the ball back into the field to start it, to kind of get them to, get their act together. Typically don't have to do that, but obviously it's well within your rights. Indicate the down number verbally and visually. We already talked about the fingers that are used. That's just to verify with the other officials. Some of us have been on the game before where everyone's not maybe quite sure what down it is. It helps them more often that if ideally every play verify this. As the head referee, you can call it out so that the QB in the offense knows, and so does the defense when they're listening. If you're not sure, and no one's questioning it, ask the other referees kind of privately. Make sure we're all on the same page. That's part of the working as a team effort. Also, you don't see a lot of us doing this, but it's a good habit for the head ref to count the offensive players' flags. The back judge counts the defensive players' flags. And you'll see indicated with a thumb up to make sure everyone's got their proper equipment on. And of course, counting down the play clock, letting the QB know when it gets to ideally 15 and then 5-0. The down judge, or the one on the line.
Reagan, let me just go into a tiny bit with the head referee. I see someone like Brian possibly being a head referee. We probably don't have a better head referee than Giovanni. I don't know if he's on the call, but head referees are freaking cool. We are as cool as a cucumber. We set the pace, we set the attitude, we set the conversation for the game. We don't throw a lot of penalties, but what we do is we set the pattern of the game. If we're cool, the players are cool. We set the tone, and Giovanni is about as good at that as you can get. Whereas we announce a penalty, we move it forward, we listen to complaints, but we continually push forward. So being a head referee is an interesting position in that we don't throw a lot of penalties, but we set the pace of the game. If we are not cool, the players won't be cool, and the other referees won't be cool. So it's a setting the standard and setting the pace of a game. I don't know, G, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you think of being a head referee?
I mean, it's actually great. I mean, it also gives you time to work with new refs. new refs and working with new refs and just running the game plan.
It's a completely different position than the other.
Than being like a back judge or.
Yeah. Okay,
And
right.
also, sorry about that. It also lets you see the game from behind the quarterback. So being behind the quarterback as a head ref, you can see the whole game.
Yeah, I would, if I were a referee, I would aspire to be a head referee because one of the things about referees is we're all the same. We all have the same dynamic in that we're all fairly alpha people who enjoy being in control and enjoy being structured. So all of you probably are within the same category. So as referees, we're all pretty much the same pattern, but being a head referee is even better because you just set the pace of the game and everyone, looks to you for how's this working out. And if you're cool, everyone will be cool. Anyway, Reagan, sorry to disrupt.
No, it's very true. Attitude is as much of this as anything in controlling your game, and the head ref sets the attitude for the entire ref crew. That's why they're the head official. Down judge before the play, and like I said, I'm gonna go quick because I will share this afterwards. There are a lot of slides in here. Resetting the beanbags and pucks. Usually, the down judge does this on anything more than a couple of yards up until about a first down. You'll see in the next slide, the back judge takes care of it for first down plays. Again, confirm what down we're on. Look to make sure that any obvious rushers are behind the rush puck. Sometimes defense you can't tell, but usually the rusher's an obvious person. That makes a good quick check to make sure they're starting from the right position. I know when I'm doing this job, I try and look and see who's my rusher on this play. That way, as soon as the play is snapped, I'm making sure were they the first one that crossed. And also, just a good check, make sure the people on the sideline are giving you enough room to move. Everyone should ideally be about a yard behind the line of scrimmage. And you being right near the line of scrimmage and the players are probably the first one that's going to hear sideline timeouts. So if that happens, and make sure that it's whistled and the attention of the person who's keeping the clock to make sure that the clock is stopped. Back judge, like I said, first downs, reset the beanbags. Again, check the defensive players' flags. Usually a little quick, make sure 7 people are on the field. They all got flags in the right position and confirm what down we're on. You don't have to do quite as much as some of the others before the play. At the snap, the head ref, as noted, is standing about 5 to 7 yards back at diagonal to the QB opposite of the down judge. Watching for pre-snap motion to make sure that all players are set. It's your responsibility to look for those illegal motion calls. Illegal motion and offsides are live ball fouls. We'll get to that in the penalty slides, but that means let the play continue. You want to assist the down judge in watching for false starts. Sometimes you can obviously see if a receiver moves early. You're just watching them from behind. And look for the immediate contact on the line. Make sure the rusher's not impeded. And really, once the ball snapped and it starts moving, your eyes are following the rusher because they're going to meet or trying to get around the blocker who's trying to get to the quarterback. And this is entirely your focus as the play develops. As the down judge, again, you're standing on the sideline at the line of scrimmage, so you have all the players in front of you. If you see someone that's obviously offsides, usually it's a receiver, let them know verbally. We want to try to avoid offside fouls as much as possible. Sometimes they're trying to rush a play and you just can't. If they're not listening to you, that's their problem. But even at tournaments, you'll see referees will tell someone to get back. We don't want to have to flag this if it's something that we can tell someone to just take a step back, especially because a lot of our fields don't have lines. So just give them a little bit of a help out there. You're looking for false starts at the snap. And you also want to make sure defenders don't cross before a legal rusher crosses or the ball leaves the QB's hands. The ball's pitched, handed off, thrown. It doesn't matter anymore. If a legal rusher crosses, line of scrimmage doesn't matter anymore. But we've all seen defenders that want to play right up there to get that jam. They cannot extend their hands over or make contact before the line of scrimmage is broken. And it's the down judge. It's your responsibility to watch for that. Back judge, like we said, you're opposite of the down judge, probably about 10 to 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. The deepest defender will give you a good perspective of where to be. You're another one to watch to make sure the rusher didn't leave pre-snap. If you're not sure, you can always throw your penalty flag and pick it up, but confer with the down judge if you think it might have been an offsides call. Watch for initial holding or full extension blocks downfield. There shouldn't be anything beyond incidental contact downfield. So that's really what you're watching for. And as we said, keep the play in front of you. As the back judge, you're the one throwing the illegal pass play context and often all the pass interference flags. That's really all the stuff that you're primarily focused on. During the play, for the head referees, we said your focus is the QB, the rushers, and the blockers. And you're looking for excessive contact on either part. The rusher attempting to go through the blocker, bull rushing. The blocker holding the rusher. Contact both either above the shoulders, the neck or face, or below the belt. And blocks in the back once separations occurred. We have a little bit to talk about that later. A rusher that is in the active motion of spinning that gets hit in the back while they're engaged in the blocker, that's not a block in the back. If the blocker comes out to actually find the rusher and hit them in the back, that's a block in the back. For borderline plays, issue a warning. It's a judgment call, for the head referee. You don't want to throw your flag unless you're absolutely sure. Also for the head referee, contact for the quarterback. Subtle contact while attempting to deflag, and the key word is you have to be in the act of deflagging. It's not necessarily a foul, but you can't make contact with the QB's arm. When in doubt, it probably is a foul. And one of our biggest responsibilities as a head ref is to ensure the protection of the quarterback. Your focus needs to be on all the interactions going on in that place. Don't look downfield until the rusher's no longer a threat. We've all seen rushers that have tunnel vision, have no idea the ball's already away. They're going after those flags. You want to protect the QB until it's obvious that everyone in the backfield knows that the play is dead back there. Then you can check what's going on further downfield. A lot of times head refs will ask at the end of a play, what was the result of the play? Because they don't even know if it was caught or not, because that's not where they're looking for their focus. It's also your job to watch for illegal forward passes. Make sure the QB's front foot did not cross the line of scrimmage. Don't shift downfield until everyone moves downfield. You really do want to hang in the backfield as long as there's players back there. And watch the pitch plays. It's your judgment if a ball is pitched laterally, backwards, or handed off without separation. If no forward pass occurs, a run's used. Yes, Chris.
I just wanted to clarify, in terms of the illegal pass play, only 1 foot has to cross the line, fully cross the line of scrimmage?
At least according to what I was going through that Frank provided me, and Sam, I'll defer to you. I should double check. We don't have a full body rule. It's just the front foot.
No, any part of your body over the line of scrimmage.
Any part. Okay. All right.
And I think the national should go there as well. I mean, it's, only 87% of your body was over the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's a confusing rule the national has. It should be any part. And that's whatever's easiest for referees, and that's easiest for referees.
Got it. Thank you.
The down judge, once the ball snapped during the play, as we said, move downfield slightly, watching for receivers improperly initiating contact within the 5-yard neutral zone. You're basically looking at all the short shit ball on the line of scrimmage. You always want to stay between the head referee and the back judge. If you're a down judge and you got beyond the back judge, you went way too far out of your zone. If you notice illegal contact, you need to do a quick assessment. Has the ball been thrown or not? Because if it's not been thrown, it's illegal pass play contact. If it has been thrown, it's pass interference. Obviously, if you notice illegal contact, it is a penalty. If you're not sure if the ball was thrown or not, you need to confer with the referees, the ref of the team. But I guarantee the head referee is going to ask you, when did it happen? Because they're not looking at it. So do the best you can to assess it. If you're not sure, go with pass interference. That's generally a good rule of thumb, because a lot of our plays develop fairly quickly.
What's Reagan? What's the penalty difference between those two?
We will get to that in the slide, but illegal pass interference is a spot penalty when it's against the defense. So, that could be a 20-yard gain and automatic first down. Illegal pass play contact is a 5-yard penalty from the spot it occurs.
And Michael, illegal pass play contact most of the time is like chucking it 10 yards or stopping someone from running their pattern, not necessarily pass interference, but engaging inappropriately with the receiver. So therefore, it's a less, it's a less violation than a pass interference, which is basically inhibiting the receiver from catching the ball, which they would have caught.
Got it. Thanks.
Whereas illegal pass play contact, because it's before the ball's thrown, the QB has the option to start going somewhere else. You've affected the play, but not nearly as directly.
Got it. That makes sense.
The back judge, you move downfield backwards to the play remains in front of you. If you start far enough back, obviously you don't have to do this too much unless there's deep plays. Distinguish between routine contact and illegal contact. As we said, you're looking for contact. In your position, there should be no meaningful contact. It's your judgment call whether it's something that's incidental, like a hand check, or it is something that affects the play. If it's a borderline case also where the ball never went there, you saw two people that were getting more physical than you would want to see, but the ball went somewhere else, that's a perfect time to issue a warning and let everyone know that you're watching for it. Because if it happens again, especially when the ball's going their way, you're going to flag it and they're not going to, go, well, what did I do? And also, this happens more downfield than anywhere else. Ensure that you don't have illegal touching. Receivers that step out of bounds on their own accord and then come back into the field of play and they're the first to touch the ball. You're the one that's going to have to make that judgment call usually because it's players that are running deep routes on the sidelines and they're not paying attention to where they are. If that happens, make sure you mark where it was, throw a hat, your spot marker or whatever, just so that when the play is done, you can actively enforce what happened. And if they argue with you, you can point to exactly, where it happened. And quickly, and then we'll get into some of the penalty stuff. At the conclusion of all plays, blow your whistle once. Obviously, if you're the back judge and there was a 1 yard, rush and no one got down your way, you don't have to necessarily blow your whistle, but you just want everyone to know that the play is over. If you threw a flag, a couple of quick short bursts is the indication, especially if the head referee didn't see your flag, to know that there's a penalty that needs to be discussed or enforced. And when you throw the flag, be prepared to come in and join the head referee for a discussion. Ideally, all officials should get together to discuss every penalty. But again, if you're the back judge and something happened at the line of scrimmage, you didn't necessarily see anything. You may get called in if your judgment's needed in the conference. But if the head referee can plan for this, he'll let you know if he needs you or not. But if you want to come in, it always helps to work as a team. And always, when you throw a flag on a live ball penalty, mark where the play ended. Because we've all been in games where the referees are talking for 2 to 3 minutes over a complicated play. We finish and decide what the penalty is, and then we have to go figure out actually where did the play end. And if you haven't marked it, you're not going to remember where the play ended. So just always remember to put a down marker somewhere so that you know what the spot is. The head referee is the only one who should be announcing the foul. You're the down judge and back judge. You're not doing any communication. But what you should be doing, once it's been determined what the result is, you may have to talk to one of the teams and ask them what they want to do. But set the field to move on to the next play. This is part of that hustle, don't hurry, but keep the pace of the game going. Head referees love it if when they are done announcing a penalty, the field's already set for the next play so that we can just move on. And again, a reminder, under 2 minutes at the end of every play, use the arm signals as to whether it was an inbounds or out of bounds, resulted in a first down. Are we stopping the clock? Is the clock running? And if you're the one keeping official time, make sure you announce it just so that we can get those mechanics down. I will tell you, especially those of you that haven't refereed that much or are new to this, even when you're getting in a good flow, the game goes on, and then we hit that 2 minute warning, and all of a sudden everything got ramped up by like 10 for every single play because every little second matters at that point. So just be ready for that when it comes.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to this. As a player, is there anything more annoying than when I be a receiver and I got totally smashed by a defender, absolutely right in front of the referee, like literally 15 feet in front of the referee, and the referee has no idea, never saw it. It's so frustrating because we're looking at a different part of the field, and sometimes they're just out of our purview, and we hear the hit, and we know the hit happened, and we see the receiver on the ground, but we never saw it. And so we can understand how annoying that is to a receiver that may have been smashed onto the ground. But if we didn't see it, we can't call it. An NFL referee said to me one day, if you notice, we do this thing called small of the back, where a referee will go up to a player and put his hand on the small of a player's back, basically saying, I missed that and I'm sorry, but we're going to move on. And that's what happens in some situations when we miss a call. We're pretty positive it happened, but we never actually saw it. And I think all of you as ex-players know how frustrating that is, but we got it. I mean, that's part of the game and that's part of something that we deal with, but we understand it for sure.
Good point. I'm going to keep in mind this. I'm going to keep in mind that little small of the back thing. That's a good rule of thumb to have.
It's a way for us to admit something non-verbally.
Yep. Important frequently missed calls. They're not on here. If you want to impress
It's
Rossi or Kelvin,
one
make
thing,
sure you
Megan,
know.
it's also a way for Sam to touch many players as well. So
He might miss a call on purpose to do that.
yeah, somehow the Twinks always missing the calls on the Twinks out there on the field.
Call the kettle there, Michael, but go on now.
Like I said, if you want to impress Frank or Kelvin and you're still playing, do not ask to defer at the damn coin toss. We don't have a defer. The coin toss is options, offense, defense, or side of the field. And at Gable, at an A-level team, there will be a captain saying they want to defer. It does not exist. We're not the NFL. Ball is spotted where the ball reaches when the player is deflagged. I know some of us have been around for a while. This has changed definition a few times. It is where the ball is. However, try to take note of where the ball is when they're deflagged. Don't reward an extra 2 yards because someone realized they got deflagged and immediately threw the ball forward. That's where it helps to be watching as the play happens. After a penalty is assessed, if a first down or turnover is not achieved, the down remains the same with the exception of loss of down penalties. Penalty administration is a lot of times where things get confusing and we'll have players arguing with us and it gets very easy to start second guessing yourself. I put this in here again just as a reminder. You can never review these things enough to make sure that you are certain. All of us have gotten stuff wrong. All of us will get stuff wrong. It just helps, obviously, to minimize as much as that happens. And I actually have to even read this myself. There's no second run potential if the defensive penalty occurs past the line of scrimmage. Apparently, that is a rule nationally that I was not even aware of. But if the QB runs and he's 3 yards past the line of scrimmage and he gets held, well, you're going to give him the 10 yards for holding the rusher penalty and then move on. But he's used his run. He doesn't get a second run just because the defense committed some penalty further down the field past the line of scrimmage. And apparently in national, that is a rule. I'm not familiar with that, but I'm going to check Frank's homework later. Penalties, hence flag on the play. Quick thing of responsibilities and enforcement. We'll go through some of the common penalties, what to know. And then that's really about it aside from the onside kick. So we are getting there. I appreciate everyone sticking through this. It said responsibilities. If you're the official who threw the flag, a couple of short bursts of the whistle, let everyone know that there is a penalty that needs to be enforced. Mark the dead ball spot, and then go confer with the head referee who's going to say, what is it? What'd you see? If multiple flags are thrown, let's say the down judge and the back judge each throw a penalty, you want to confer to make sure, are we flagging the same thing? Did we see different things? That might be offsetting penalties. Eventually, you're going to meet with the head referee. Maybe they threw one of the penalties too. You're definitely, when you see more than one flag in the field, going to have a conference. And as noted earlier, the referee is the one giving preliminary signal. The referee is the one giving the options to the team that was offended. They're the one conveying the penalty. They're the ones, if you watch the NFL game, that get the microphone. No one else needs one of those. So think the same rule within our league. Quick thing for proper enforcement when you throw a penalty, things you need to know. Who was it? Offense or defense? What was it? What was the foul? Where? The spot of the foul, what happened, and when, as in status of the ball, like you'll sometimes hear, during the play, after the play, just trying to describe it as best as you can. And the referee will also have to let you know what the result of the play was. On a live ball foul, could be complete, incomplete, a change of possession, clock is stopped, clock is running, especially within 2 minutes. Going to penalties, procedural fouls, of which, there's a whole bunch of them listed here because they're all fairly similar. These are your false starts, delay of games, encroachments, offsides, illegal motions, anything procedurally that basically happens, before the ball is snapped or during, as you're getting ready to snap. Dead ball fouls, the play is dead. We're going to blow the whistle and stop it there. Live ball fouls, which is offsides, illegal motion, illegal shift, illegal formation. You throw the flag and you let the play continue, and then you're going to administer it based on the end of the play. And that's why it says don't automatically blow your whistle. We all have been in games, and I've done it. We've all done it where we have an inadvertent whistle. You want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Everyone will always tell you keep the whistle out of your mouth. You can't blow it if it's not there. That's a good way, certainly, especially if you're a newer referee, to learn it. Offsides is a live ball foul. Offsides on the offense or the defense, a live ball foul. Encroachment, which requires contact with an offending player, is a dead ball foul. I guarantee you I have called this wrong. Defensive offsides, when the rusher crosses before starting 5 yards back, in other words, it's an illegal rush, is an offsides. And I have called it encroachment. I know I have done that. But I'm putting this in here just for everyone to know, when you do it correctly, you don't blow the play dead because there was an illegal rush. Motion is legal, and this is a really complicated one, even at the national level. Motion is legal if all offensive players at some point get set, movement is lateral or away from the line of scrimmage, and there's no simultaneous movement without players, again, being still. So what does all that mean? If two players are moving at once, even after everyone's been set, everyone has to get set again. You cannot have two players in motion when the ball's snapped. And even if one of them sets and the other's still in motion, he has to set and restart. Everyone has to set after that. You can't be moving towards the line of scrimmage. And this is the one, QBs can be called for an illegal motion, as rare as it is, if they are moving towards the line of scrimmage when the ball's snapped. Those are the things
Reagan?
that are for recalls, but things to look for.
So Reagan, if I heard you correctly, I could motion a player from right to left. He sets, and then a second player left to right, as long as everyone is set.
Yes, if the second player doesn't move until after the first player is set, that's fine.
Great. Okay. Good to know.
And false starts in which the movement simulates the snap are different than an illegal motion or illegal shift. I thought about why this is in here, but we've all seen it. A false start is basically a receiver that moves before the ball snap and takes off, and everyone thinks the play started. That's a false start. Blow the play dead, 5 yards, we're going to redo it. An illegal motion or illegal shift generally doesn't involve crossing the line of scrimmage. No one on the defense thinks the play is about to begin. It's a penalty because they're not moving correctly in terms of the motion rules, but that's why that's a live ball penalty. You let the play continue. You blow a false start dead because everyone thinks the play just started, and you just want that. You want to kill it and move on.
Reagan, can I ask, because that's where I will say I get the most feedback from players on the field, is when I don't call a false start, mostly because, I want the game to move. I usually, if I see everyone kind of still for about a second, then I'm usually okay, but I get a lot of feedback.
My question is, the defense is saying false start because, like, say a receiver was rocking their foot.
Rocking a little bit, hands a little bit. Sometimes they'll move their feet, but if I see that they stopped moving their feet before the ball is snapped, I usually kind of, if they're doing it while the ball is snapped, I'll call it. But I usually give them a little bit maybe more
Yeah,
credit. That's why
I
I want to
agree with
clarify.
that. So the genesis of what we do is, are they trying to gain an advantage?
Right.
Many times we'll see a kid who is foot, or his or her foot is, I don't know, a foot in front of the line of scrimmage, not trying to get an advantage, but there's no lines on the field. It's best just to correct them. And if we see the slightest of movement without any intention of trying to deceive the defense, I mean, we got to put logic into this for the most part. I mean, if it's in the playoffs, maybe we'll amp up our structure a bit. But John, I agree with you in that it's best to do corrective measures as opposed to throwing our flag, because there was no deception trying to fool the defense into gaining an advantage.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I agree
If
with
I don't
that.
see if I don't see the offense react, also, I kind of maybe keep that a little bit into, other than the someone from the sideline yelling in my ear, like
Right.
that guy's
That's what I was
shoelace
going to
moved,
say,
so-
John. Is I think if the defense reacts because they think the play is starting, you probably do have to flag that.
Yeah,
But if the
absolutely in
defense
that case.
yeah. Just go, full stupid because they see someone rocking their foot, you can make a judgment call on that and probably even just remind the player, like, you got to be set. Especially a lot of our newer players that have never played football, they get some jitters about it. Like, you don't want the defense just trying to get a free 5 yards because they're pointing out something like that if you don't think it impacted the play.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's a couple of captains that will constantly berate me about that, but I'm also kind of like, if it was up to you, we'd still be on the first play of game one, and we're in week 8.
Oh, you're snarky with them as well. I see.
Well, I don't say that to them because, I'm being courteous on the
You'll
field.
say that to me when you come in for the huddle?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I just want to, I think it would be good for the whole league to kind of like tell them to just calm the hell down with the false starts. I mean, we're not in the NFL, right? But anyway, I do, if the defense reacts, I will definitely throw it. But otherwise, I'm usually probably a little bit nicer on to the offensive line than maybe I should be. So I just wanted to make sure I understood how tight I should be on that.
No, I appreciate that. Illegal participation, equipment touching. This is just getting a couple of terms clarified that you can review. Participation is when you've got 8 or more players on the field. You've basically got too many people. Illegal touching, as we talked about, is the player that went out of bounds and came back in and is the first to touch the ball. And again, that's of their own accord. If you can be blocked out of bounds and if you immediately reestablish, then you're allowed to continue with the play. But if you run out on your own, that's illegal touching. And again, I'll own I've screwed this one up. If a player starts without a flag belt, throw the flag and let the play continue. It is a penalty in our league. It is not the national 2-hand touch. It is a penalty that you started the play without having a flag belt on. Ideally, officials noticed that and pointed out to the team before the ball snapped. But yes, Chris.
Does it matter if it's defensive player that starts without a flag?
No, it's supposed to just be a penalty either way. I would agree that I'm like, in theory, it shouldn't matter, but if that defensive player then intercepts the ball, they don't have a flag, we're going with that. Ideally, we're on the ball to catch that someone doesn't have their flags on. It's rare, but usually you see a flag that's on the field and you point out someone's got a flag over there, and then everyone's immediately going to look and go, oh, who's missing one? Let's see. Moving on. Rushing and blocking infractions. Again, this is largely white hat territory, but there are 2 types here. The illegal use of the hands, holding other than the ball carrier, which is the type of holding that occurs here. Illegal blocks. They're 5 yards from the previous spot. Replay down. A personal foul. This is the unnecessary roughness on the blocker or the bull rushing / charging on the rusher. Those are 10 yards and automatic first down. As we said, a block in the back is illegal use of hands unless it's excessive contact. Don't reward the rusher who's spinning. But the difference here is it's 5 yards if the rusher gets blocked in the back away from the play, and it's a block. It's 10 yards if they get blocked and like get shoved to the ground. That's unnecessary roughness on the blocker's part. I think we all kind of know what bull rushing is, but the rusher must make a move around a stationary blocker. If the blocker's moving, the rusher is allowed to reestablish. They can get another opportunity to get around the blocker if they're both in motion. If two blockers are lined up next to each other, the rusher's got to go around unless there's a gap that they can clear without initiating contact. I have certainly tried to take advantage of that in the past myself. These are a lot of judgment calls. I swear, having started whitehatting more now, one of the hardest things to do is assess where this line is. But if in doubt, it's probably not a penalty unless the contact is below the waist or above the neck. You know when you see excessive force or excessive contact on either side. And the biggest thing, I'm going to say it again in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, is just establish consistency. As long as the players on both sides have learned what is a penalty and what isn't, and you're consistent throughout the game with that, everyone's probably going to be fine.
Yeah. And even to that, I'll even say quickly that, whether it's hockey or basketball or baseball, every referee is different. Brian knows how I call a game, and he knows how Frank calls a game. And you probably adjust your game based on who's officiating your game. So we all have different styles and different tendencies in every sport. So as long as Reagan said consistency, I'm always consistent. Frank is always consistent, and Calvin's always consistent. You guys just have to get around that part and know that part of our game, because we're always going to be, 7% different from each other for the most part. All referees in every sport.
Another one, the illegal rush. If the QB hands off, pitches, or throws the ball before anyone crosses the line of scrimmage, there can't be an illegal rush. The play has already happened. Rushers may clear themselves. I don't think this really is anything usually that involves the referees, but there are a lot of new rushers that you'll see sometimes that think because the QB tried to use a fake snap and they left early that they're now out of the play. A rusher is allowed to reset. It's just as long as they are behind 5 yards or further back before crossing the line of scrimmage. Doesn't matter when they did that. We talked about defensive players reaching a loss to the line of scrimmage. Really, as the down judge, if you expect a run play is imminent and you can know how the game flow is going, really want to watch this because the defense is probably going to start playing up on the line for that. Might be also one of those, like it's a 3rd and 1 and the team might, be setting to run. And again, the impeding the rusher thing, the rusher must have a clear lane prior to reaching the line of scrimmage. Did that next page. The illegal forward pass, as we said, the QB's foot crosses the line of scrimmage. There's no full body rule. If a pitch goes forward, any additional pass is illegal. You can't pitch the ball forward and then wind up and throw it even if you're behind the line of scrimmage. And the penalty is marked from where the spot of the second pass. So, it's a spot penalty even if you're in the backfield on that. That's why pitches have to be lateral or backwards. And when an illegal forward pass occurs, the run is considered used. If the run is closed, you can consider if you want an illegal second run foul is more appropriate, because the illegal forward pass is a spot foul. An illegal second run is from the line of scrimmage. Obviously, those enforcements are going to vary based on where it is. Judgment call of you and the rest of the referee team, what the appropriate play is to call in that matter. Roughing the passer is a personal foul, 10 yards and automatic first down, added to the end of the play if yards are gained. We went through some of this already. The rusher's got to be attempting to deflag with a reasonable level of contact. Even if they're deflagging, they can't tackle. Contact with the QB when attempting to block the pass is a foul, even if you successfully block it. And we all know those rushers that come in there like a bat out of hell. Yeah, they block the pass. They hit the QB afterwards. That's roughing the passer. If the QB Sam, I'm going to go. The QB attempts to draw contact by running into or throwing the arm into the player. Use your judgment. Definitely had that call against me but it is a judgment call of the white hat. Not all contact is a penalty, but you do want to err on protecting the quarterback. I'll say, as I just said, when that happened to me many years ago, Paul Jung on multiple plays in the game threw into me with his arm to get illegal, to get roughing the passer calls. And I was basically told, go lower. You got to get around it. So your job is to err in protecting the QB. If a play is completed downfield, the penalty yardage comes at the end of the play. Roughing the passer and it's still a 15-yard pass, that's great. They get an extra 10 yards added on. So just remember to enforce it correctly. And if it's flagrant contact with the QB, you have the right and should and know when to do this to sit players for 4 or 8 games. If it considers escalating or is a seriously egregious play, you can consider a full ejection. Usually, I don't think I sit a player for 4 plays unless it's someone with a reputation that we know that we're trying to stop something immediately. But by the second or third time someone gets a roughing the passer call, it might be time to remind them that they need to cool off a little bit. We don't want things getting into a dangerous or unsafe situation. Illegal pass play contact, / rusher interference. As we talked about, that's another 5-yard penalty. Remember the blocking rules. Offense can't initiate the contact, and defense can jam for 5 yards. The 5 yards is really helpful with the rusher puck. You kind of have that as an indication. If there's contact that's beyond incidental going on past the rusher puck, that's not allowed. It can only be called when the ball's not been thrown. Like I said earlier, if you're not sure, just err in calling pass interference. If it's not close, call it as a pass interference call. And pick plays and moving screens should be called as offensive pass interference because impeding the rusher is illegal pass play contact. It's just a slight differentiation there. And the difference being, obviously, a pick play or a moving screen is you're impeding the linebacker from doing their job versus the rusher getting a clear lane. OPI, DPI calls. Just basically know what the exceptions are. As you'll see in the rule book, 10 yards for OPI or spot foul for DPI. Unavoidable contact downfield by 2 or more players. Check my spelling. Making a simultaneous bona fide attempt to move toward catch or bat the ball. It's your judgment whether it was 2 people going for the ball at the same time and they just hit each other. If the ball has been touched by any player, pass interference restrictions end. Now, you can still call a penalty, but let's say that's a jump ball a couple of times and the defender tries to just bring a receiver down. You can call unnecessary roughness on that, but it's not pass interference anymore. If contact by the defense is immediate, it ends before the neutral zone. That's not pass interference. And there's no pass interference on a scrimmage play or an illegal forward pass. The illegal forward pass is going to trump anything that happens afterwards. And remember, face guarding is legal. Contact is not. A really smart receiver knows where the ball is going, and they can bait a defender into making contact. The defender will say, I wasn't trying to hit him because they weren't looking. If the defender makes contact, flag the contact. Just be consistent in how it's being called. Flag guarding, I think the most argued penalty we have in our league. Any act that prevents a deflagger from pulling the flags, and I underlined it, when in position to do so. That's swatting of the hands, stiff arms, jumping, hurdling, covering the flags, diving. The reason when in the position to do so, all of us have seen a game where someone hurdles and there's no one within 10 yards of them. There's no flag guarding there because they're not trying to avoid anybody. It's just in their motion of running. Use your judgment. Was someone actually hindered from being able to pull flags? Mark the penalty from the end of the play. You can still get a first down on a 20-yard gain. You're only going to mark it back 5 yards, and there's still going to be a first down. It's a spot foul. Just make sure players are sometimes going to argue that with you. You understand how it's enforced. And it's rare, but the QB can commit a flag guard if they are jumping when not in their natural act of throwing or blocking their own flags. If the rusher's just about to get there and the QB does something that we would flag a receiver for, you flag the QB for it as well. It's still a flag guard. Holding, there's 2 different holdings. Holding of the ball carrier and holding of all players. Differences, one's a spot foul and one's for the end of the run. The end of the run is holding of the rusher, basically the person with the ball. Holding of anyone else, you're holding a linebacker, the rusher's being held. That's a spot foul. A reminder, not all grabs or holds. If you incidentally grab the shirt or shorts and someone doesn't miss a beat, you don't have to call that a hold if their progress wasn't impeded. If they hang on for like a second plus, it's a hold. Like they can realize, oh, I got the shirt and let go immediately. You don't have to call that. They'll argue it with you, but it is your judgment. Holdings also automatically declined on all scoring plays. Um, that's it for penalties. I swear I've only got a couple more slides. I'm not even going to go into this that much, but there are a couple of special enforcements that I know Frank threw in here to review that are interesting situations. Your white hat should know this to help you just enforce all these correctly because we're already a bit over time. Like I said, I will send this out to everyone to review that. These, I think, are a little bit more beneficial, especially for new refs. Just some tips for better game management. Use the coin toss to set a tone. Obviously, it's your head referee reading that, but you're all out there. Set a tone for the game. Remind captains who should interact with the officials. We've all seen Sam and myself do a game. Inject a little humor. Let everyone know that we're out here to have fun. Puts everyone in the right frame of mind. Especially if you're the white hat, establish standards or lines for rushing and blocking early in the game. Communicate with the players. Issue some warnings and be consistent. That way everyone knows how it's going to be called. Use the contact and conduct rules to eliminate hard hits and abusive actions immediately. We have penalties for a reason. If you are letting things go that are getting overly physical, it's only going to get worse the longer they continue. So it's best to nip things in the bud early and just get control of a game. If the same player is committing the same penalty over and over, the head referee can stop the game and have a conference with the captains. That's basically a warning to both teams that this is going to end now. Might come with ejections later, but again, take control of the game. Don't let it get away from you. And defer with other officials on penalties. Like we said, never say it wasn't your call or deny agreeing with the call. You may think the call is bullshit, but when the call's been made, you have to go with it for the rest of the game. You don't want to upset the referee crew because we are out there as a team and start getting players to game us off one another. Communicate with players constantly. And that doesn't mean like ask someone's number on the sidelines, but like we said, remind people when they're offsides. Issue warnings if you can before a flag. Let them know we don't want to decide the game. We want to just help manage and control the game. Treat respectful questions with a respectful response. If someone is being very polite to you and doesn't know what they did or is asking a legitimate question, just give them the answer. And if you don't know per se, you can confirm with the rest of your referee crew, but you don't have to be snippy with someone that's being polite. Now, flip that. If someone is being yelling or insulting with you, you can just ignore them. You can consult the captain or talk to your head referee, and they can confer with the captain. But you don't have to necessarily take abuse. You also don't want to get into a yelling match with someone back and forth about it. Like we said, hustle as much as reasonable. And it's an interesting word in here, but I liked it, that we're in a position of trust on the field. As we said, avoid flags that you don't need to throw, especially early in the season. If someone's not trying to gain a clear advantage and they just did something that had no impact on the play, warn them, teach them, let them know. We're a recreational league. And in those early few weeks, especially, we're trying to just get everyone on the same page. The key word there is it didn't create an advantage. We all know we've been in games with flag happy refs that throw flags on everything. And we all know that the flag that was thrown had no impact on the play. And it just gets everyone frustrated. So if you can avoid doing that and instead use it as a teaching moment, that's probably going to be a better way for your game to move forward. That was it. I think before I get
Brian,
into
you're
this,
muted.
Oh, sorry. Is there any penalty? I'm sorry, Reagan. Is there any penalty for embellishment? I feel like the last couple of seasons, people sometimes try to gain advantage, to use Sam's point, which I think is a good one, by pretending that something happened when it didn't?
Yes. Yeah, there has been referees who have called delay of game. When mostly a quarterback, if a quarterback flops and we actually see the flop and this game stops and everyone goes over and delays this game, that is either, it is a delay of game and it has been called. It's best to say, to the quarterback, don't do this again because this is not you're disrupting the flow of the game.
Gotcha.
Any other questions before? Because the last slide has nothing to do with the rest of this, but any other questions in general? Like I said, I want to go through correct my spelling errors, but I will email this to everyone so they have it. And they can review it along with the rule book.
Are you going to evaluate the refs? Like, will we get feedback?
Oh, the players will do that. Don't worry.
So yeah, sorry, but Brian, I'll let you know firsthand. At some point after the game, you'll have players, captains, anybody on the field emailing Sam right after the game.
So that does bring me to a good point, but I want to. It's a great question to ask, and Sam, you can feel free to chime in with your own thoughts on this. There are certain ways this will happen. If a game went poorly from a referee standpoint, some captains will reach out to Sam and send a formal email that basically outlines this happened, this is all the details, and I really would like you to look into it or work on it. And in that instance, Sam will probably reach out to you as a one-on-one, try and get the full story, and if there's a teaching moment there, go through it. That is how this is supposed to be handled. There have been other instances where someone comes out to find you at the bar after the game and berates you about what a terrible job you did. My personal advice is you can respond, but you don't have to engage in that. And I would let Sam know afterwards, by the way, this captain or this player went nuts afterwards and did not let it go, because we should not have to take that. We're human. We make mistakes. But when the game's over, much like as a player, the game is supposed to be over. There's a formal way to deal with this and an inappropriate way to deal with it.
I meant more like Sam or you or Kelvin or Frank will evaluate us.
Yeah, I mean, we do. We actually do it throughout the game. If you notice, whenever we communicate on the field, we're talking about how Frank missed a call, or Reagan will say to me, I think you saw that from a bad perspective. And I'll be like, you're probably right, I did. So we're constantly giving each other advice of where we might have missed and why we might have been out of position, unbeknownst to players, but we're pretty much constantly doing that all game.
I'll put it into a positive example. If you're doing this during a game and we have a chance to talk either during like a change of possession or halftime, let's say you're the back judge and you made a PI call that the defenders argue with you vociferously. The next time we're in a huddle, I've heard Whiteheads go, you absolutely got that correct. And it's reminders like that of just that we're watching and noticing and providing tips constantly throughout the game. It's more of an informal process, but it happens a lot. Very briefly, because I realize this went longer than I thought, just to let you know, because it will be done and summarized again. Sam went through it for the captains. I will try my best quickly here. Those of you that went to Sunshine Cup are familiar with variation on this, but we're doing our own. We are introducing onside kicks this season as a new rule. It can only occur within 4 minutes remaining in the second half. Any captain, if you are behind, doesn't matter by how much, as long as you're 1 point behind, following the scoring play, it can be before or after the try, you can make a direct declaration that you want to attempt an onside kick. Now, a few caveats in that. You have to have a timeout available to use. So if you're out of timeouts, this is not an option to you. And the timeout is not a timeout to confirm in game plan. It's literally a timeout you saying, timeout, we want an onside kick. Teams may have to get a little bit used to this. If you call it before the extra point try, that's going to save you some time. But if you're only down 1 or 2 points and you tie the game, you now can't use it. So you do have to do a little bit of thinking in that regard. But the classic situation of this, I think, is you're down 9 points and you realize there's no way that you're actually going to be able to tie all the time out. Play happens, whatever, at the end of the score, and you're going to get to do an onside kick. There's a lot of specifics with this, but the main thing to know what it is it's basically a 4th and 15. We're going to go to the other end of the field, set up at the your own 15-yard line, and say it's 4th and 15. If you complete the play, we're going to keep going. You've converted the onside kick, and you stay on offense. If you can't complete the 4th and 15, you're going to turn the ball over, and the other team's going to get it with a really short field. In essence, the same result of how an onside kick works. The only other main thing to know about this is that during the onside kick, the QB cannot run. If you convert it, your run is alive. We've gone back to a normal offensive possession. You've got your run. But we're not going to let superstar athlete just run for 15 yards to convert an onside kick. You actually do have to make an executable 15-yard play. There's a whole lot more written here, but that's the genesis of the rule. We've tried it at both Sin City and Sunshine Cup to varying success. I think some people think it's converting a bit too much. Some of us think in our local leagues where you know your team's better, that defenses may be able to have a bit more of an upper hand. But players generally do like it, that the option is there. And so that's why we wanted to give it kind of a full season test. Sam, I don't know if there's anything more you want to add to that.
No, I was just going to go over a tiny bit of scheduling and we'll call it a day. But for Brian and others
so
who may be fairly new, for the most part, what we like to do is we like to schedule player referees for the game following theirs. Occasionally, someone like, Chris, who has probably done practiced about 12,000 times. Sometimes Chris doesn't mind refereeing before his game. He's gone through the drills so often that he can almost do it in his sleep. But for the most part, we like you to go through your drills with your team and then play and then referee after. But there are times when we're going to have you referee before. And the pay structure is pretty simple. It's $45 per game. It does vary. It's extra $5 for 2 referees and a negative $5 for 4 referees. But for the most part, it's $45. And it's a pretty easy process. You're going to become a better player when you referee. You're going to realize that you're part of a new community and you're going to make friends. And, we secretly make fun of players all the time. So it gives us something to laugh about during the game.
Can I ask you a question about the 4th and 15? Say you have a guy like Kohini, who's a giant. You throw the ball deep to him. He gets pushed.
Yep.
There's a flag. That counts?
It's whatever. It's like a 4th and 15 anywhere else on the field, any other time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, as Sam just said, it's a play. What we're doing for the onside nature of it is trying to make a play that is reasonably difficult to convert. But if you convert it, we're moving on. So when you're lined up in 4th and 15, all regular penalties, it's basically the only difference from a normal play is that the QB run is not allowed. Everything else is like a normal play.
Because my guess is everyone's going to do it, especially if they don't have timeouts. I mean, other than the one they'll need, because
you're basically giving up if you don't get it. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
So you could do it, but if there's, if you're down 8 points and there's 3 minutes left, that's a pretty difficult decision because you could stop them and get the ball back.
If you have timeouts, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't make this for 4th and 15, the game's probably over.
And look, I refereed the Open C Championship in Sunshine Cup. And Boston lost. I'm trying to remember who. DC won. DC scored, and they were now down by I can't remember the PAT, but they were basically down. They finally scored, and They ran the onside play, converted it with less than 2 minutes to go. They scored with 11 seconds left, and their PAT put them over the top. And Boston had about 11 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it was, ran a couple of plays. But, Boston dominated the game for 35, 40 minutes. And, what are we doing? 25, 25, 45 minutes. And the last 5 minutes or less, DC basically just came back and stole a game. So it can happen.
And it's in the playoffs too?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to make this game more exciting.
Yeah. Like I said, I will send the PowerPoint out once I wordsmith it to clean up a couple of things, but I want to thank everyone that joined tonight. I've got my attendance. I've recorded the thing for people that aren't here. Looking forward to working with everyone this season, especially the new referees. Full disclosure, I'm missing 3 of the first 4 weeks, so you won't see me for a little bit. But weeks 5 through 8 and the playoffs, I'll definitely be around, and I'm sure Sam will work me like a dog, as always happens.
And
I'm grateful to all of you.
I didn't hear anything about like an eye test. Isn't there supposed to be an eye test required?
I didn't hear anything about product placement during Zoom.
My eyesight, even in spite of these glasses, this is not for my vision's very light. My eyesight's fine. Just don't give me a hearing test. That's something that I will fail very, very badly.
Good to know, Neutrogena.
Brought to you by.
All right. I will give everyone, thank you for sticking with us through this. Appreciate it all. Good luck to everyone this season if you're playing. Good luck to those refereeing, and see everyone soon.
And Mo, welcome aboard.
Thank you all.